So glad that you're with us. Just want to remind you that KXEX 1550 AM is on Saturdays at 4 and Sundays at 6 for Powell to the People. We talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, and healthy communities. And anything else you want to talk about, you send us a note. We'll be glad to get some folks on the air and we'll talk about it. And then good news with Larry Powell, nothing but good news stories Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. You can catch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We got it. We got a place for you to listen on your schedule, not on our schedule. So we're certainly glad that you've joined us. Now, those of you who are just getting over the malaise that took place with the election, I know you probably have a bit of a, maybe we'll call it an election hangover. And if you didn't go the way you want, I want to remind you, go to Powell to the People last week and take a look, because I talk about joy no matter what's going on around you and how we are in joy. I in joy instead of in joy. And if you are in joy, it doesn't matter what's going on. Things are going to go well and you're going to be fine. So just trust the Lord. Anyway, today we've got an exciting program for you from Break the Barriers, one of the best nonprofits in town. And we've got with us Jarod and Tyler Hergenrader, who are sons of the founders of Break the Barriers. And anybody who has half a lick of sense or ever been to a basketball game with the Bulldogs at Fresno State has seen Break the Barriers perform, and their performing team is absolutely amazing. Well, Jarod and Tyler, welcome aboard. Nice to have you with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Folks, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the needs that Break the Barriers has. As you know, they work with physically challenged kids, able-bodied kids, you name it. It doesn't matter if you've got something that you'd like to learn, they'll help you learn it in a physical way, and it's really cool. Veterans are doing some amazing things. We're going to talk a little bit about archery and some of the other exciting things that are available. And you also are working on a new pool, as I understand. You got what is that, $1 million project? Or
Well, we'll talk about it. It's much bigger than that now.
Okay.
But yep.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, we want to get started with just a little bit of history. So, Jarod, let's start with you. Tell us about you. How did you end up at Break the Barriers? Obviously, mom and dad, and when you were a kid, you were involved in the activities and things. But how did you end up as the head of Break the Barriers?
Sure. Well, just to share a little bit about Break the Barriers and our history. I mean, it goes back way before I was even a thought. It started with my grandparents really wanting a place and a dream for their child. My aunt, who had Down syndrome, was the inspiration, of course, behind Break the Barriers.
Kathy.
And Kathy. And if we go back 60 plus years ago, there wasn't anything. There wasn't even special education in schools.
Exactly.
And it started with my grandma and just some other moms over at Einstein Park,
Wow.
gathering together with their kids because nothing else was offered to them. And that's really, in my mind, where special education started in Fresno County. But from then, families serving on the first ARC boards and then pass it down to my mom, who was 5 years older than Kathy. It was always a dream and even a burden of hers to find a special place where her sister was accepted, or it was, her and her sister participating in something together. It wasn't one on the sidelines or vice versa. And it got to the point where Kathy was one of the first Special Olympians in the world back in 1968, and my family fully got involved in Special Olympics, as well as my mom, of course, was a competitive gymnast and national champion gymnastics. So they knew the benefit of sports. And,
Yes.
And Kathy was just this amazing talent that the world needed to see.
She was quite a gal, I'll tell you, and she had such a positive attitude.
Yes, always, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you had a mustache.
Keep the mustache.
So it was a dream of my mom's to find a place for her sister, and with my mom starting the sport of gymnastics, helping start it in Special Olympics, grandma ice skating, dad powerlifting. They were traveling around the world with Kathy and her friends, and wherever they went, it was gold medals, in every sport, every division. And it got back to Eunice Schreiber, founder of Special Olympics, and she met with my parents, and she asked them, how come your athletes are so much better than everybody else? Well, my parents were training elite athletes at that same time.
Isn't that something?
And and Kathy and her friends, these Special Olympians, were training alongside these elite athletes.
Wow.
So their caliber of training was just risen to a level that no other athlete was getting in Special Olympics around the world. And right then and there, my parents knew that special place was in our backyard with 20 students.
Yep.
A year later, it grew to 300. So we had
And
a
you
lot
were
of.
looking for another facility.
We were. We found out that many other families had that same hope and dreams just for their children to be accepted in this world. And
Yep.
fast forward, and we'll talk about
And
it.
that's when you ended up eventually at Sierra. And,
Well, we're at Cook Hamilton.
Cook
first.
Hamilton's first.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it was a setup tear down every
Every
afternoon
time. Oh,
in their
man.
cafeteria, and we had fun as boys running around everywhere on the school campus.
Yeah.
So we were there for about a year and a half, and then over on, of course, Sierra for about 17 years.
Yeah. And then you're now at an amazing place on Cedar near Teague.
Yep.
And it's a phenomenal facility. Are you the longest running program like you anywhere in California? Because I can't find any others that have done what you do.
Yeah. We've tried to train many people across our country. It's to be honest with you, there's no one that does what we do with all that we do. We've tried to train and educate many others, but I believe it was truly a unique passion that my parents had.
Yep.
For my aunt, as well as their gift in sports, that really brought this together. And then, of course, Fresno has just been such a huge help and blessing to break the barriers with helping us get off our feet and running. So
yeah, it's fantastic. I was on the board for a period of time on an advisory board now with you. My grandkids, my daughter went to Break the Barriers. My grandkids are doing Break the Barriers. A phenomenal program, absolutely phenomenal program. So tell me, Tyler, how did you view all of this when you were growing up, and what was happening from your backyard to Cedar and Teague?
For me, it was just one big playhouse. It's one big playhouse and one big family. Everywhere we went, it was just an entourage of all inclusion. And I just remember growing up having a playhouse. My parents were heavily involved in getting the nonprofit up and running. Our grandma had a huge part. And
tell the folks about your grandma. She was an athlete as well.
Yeah, she was in Ice Capades for many years, and that's where she met her husband, and he did a hub trio on ice, the first to do a backflip on ice. So
wow.
They would travel around the world doing those shows, and so very athletic family. Dad played pro ball for the Yankees, and mom was a world national gymnast. So obviously, I think genetically we were blessed with some athletic genes. So we were so much involved in sports growing up. That we would be either on the practice field or we were at the gym just messing around and playing. So.
And that was normal part of life.
Correct.
Yeah. There was no time at home watching TV. You were out doing something all the time.
Well, and back then you were street kids, right? You were running around just playing sports everywhere. And my mom had this loud whistle where we could hear it from 4 blocks away, and we knew it was dinner time. So
time to go home.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about high school sports for you two.
Sure. Well, both of us played multiple sports. We both went to Hoover High.
Yep.
So
Hoover Patriots.
Proud Pate. Yep. So I played football, basketball, soccer, and baseball in high school. And this guy, he can go ahead and share what he did.
Yeah, I played soccer, baseball, and football as well.
Yeah. Quarterback.
Quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The little rabbit running around, trying not to get murdered on the field.
With these big guys,
Exactly.
chasing you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were some amazing coaches at Hoover during those years that you guys had influencing your lives as well. And it was a neat time, a really neat time. I think back, Jack Hanna just recently passed away, who was at Hoover and then went to Clovis West. But what an amazing guy he was, and just had an impact on thousands and thousands of kids. So it was quite a deal. Tell me a little more about what it was like as Kathy started getting into the program more, because she was such a groundbreaker, and other folks started feeling that, hey, I can do this too as a result. Because she was a trailbreaker. She was an amazing person, and she had this wonderful acceptance of everybody come, man, we're going to hug, and we're going to be good. So she started a lot of that, obviously through your mom and things, and her love for her sister. But Tell me a little more about Kathy's impact, because she was a world champ.
Yeah. Kathy was a 4-time international champion in the Special Olympics, and she was. We joke as kids all the time because she was quick. She was super quick. We'd have fun, as family teasing her, and she always had to have the front seat in the car, and she would run as soon as the door opened. She would jet to that car door, and we'd have fun racing her. But she was quick. She was fast, and she was talented. Kathy, it's just, how God created her. She was just a love generator, and she was the party, of course. And my mom even met my dad, by pushing Kathy in front and getting Kathy to introduce themselves. If you know anybody with Up syndrome or Down syndrome, you know that they're the life of the party, and many times they're that bridge to opportunity, and we'll share that a little more later, with our outreach. But they, Kathy was just an inspiration to so many.
And they love people. Down syndrome kids. Jarod, right now, I want to talk about him a little more, who's also a Special Olympics champ.
Yeah.
I can't believe how fast our segments go here, but we're finished with our first segment, and you're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. I got special guests Jarod and Tyler Hergenrader, and we're going to be right back. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. Jarod, you had mentioned earlier that there was no place in public schools in a lot of ways for Kathy when she was growing up. And I'm going to predate that a little bit. Having had polio in 1949, there was no such thing as special ed during those days, but they wanted to move everybody into an institution someplace. So having had polio, wearing a brace on my right leg, the school district wanted to move me into an institution, and Mom and Dad said, absolutely not. He's going to participate like everybody else in everything. And what's really fun, God has a sense of humor, because I became county superintendent, head of the institution. So it's really kind of fun to think back that what we fail to realize a lot of times, and one of the things you guys do, is we look at what the ability is, not the disability.
Amen.
And that's a huge, huge thing. And I know you've helped so many families understand that it's not what their kids can't do, it's what they can do. And when I've seen, for example, the flips, the jumps, the things that special needs kids do at Break the Barriers, you're holding your breath when you don't know, and you see for the first time the wheelchair being flipped over and all kinds of things going on. So tell me a little more of what it's like for someone with some level of disability to come to Break the Barriers.
It's just a place of inclusion. I believe truly, we're believers, and we believe that's how God intended it to be. And you look at who Christ was using for his ministry.
Yeah.
It was the lame, the sick, and the blind, those that were labeled or maybe pushed to the side. And so we found that to be family to us, that we have this environment where it's really God driven, where there is no segregation.
Yep.
And we found throughout our experience in life, and talking about Kathy and just the funny things, I'll share a story about her in a sec, but there's always a way to do something. You just might need to think outside the box, because we're stuck in this culture that kind of has us in tunnel vision, and we've been able to connect the right dots and bring the people around us it's like, hey, we might not be able to do it this way, but we'll try it this way, and fell 1,000 times, but then the beauty comes out of it. And even with Kathy, I mean, going back, she's the smartest girl in the world, and we talk a lot about with kids with Down syndrome, they have the extra chromosome. Sometimes the extra chromosome might go to the hormones a little bit, and so her passion was to get married, and she had a huge crush on police officers, right?
Yeah.
So she found out if she called 911, a male police officer would show up to the door. And so that's kind of the life that we've been brought up in. It's just an all-inclusive environment. Everybody's accepted. And And in that aspect, we found it's so much funner that way because there is no labels, there is no image you're trying to protect.
Yep.
It's just everybody's a free-for-all and just enjoying who they are.
It's pretty amazing. And you guys have got, and before I forget, you got a Christmas program either going or coming up here shortly.
Coming up December 3rd.
Yeah.
Yep.
And tell folks about that and how do they get tickets. And boy, let me tell you, folks, if you want to see an amazing program, you want to see a Christmas like no other, that is absolutely phenomenal. But Jarod, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's our spin on the Nutcracker. It's called the Nutcracker like no other because it's like no other Nutcracker. I mean, we have aerial silks, we have acrobats, of course, we have our ballerinas on point, and we do this every year. And for many of our families and for many of our individuals who might have a various ability, this is a chance that they will get to have that. In another show or in another recital would never be possible.
Right.
And it's December 3rd at the Audra McDonald Theater at Roosevelt High School, and we have two shows, 2 and 5:30, and tickets are available through breakthebears.org.
That's fantastic.
So right now we're in talks with Fresno Unified, so we're hoping to bless them with 600 free tickets for students to get to go watch the Nutcracker for the first time. So we're excited. We have probably about 200 performers that are involved in this show. Wow. Along with, of course, a lot of set design and people behind the scenes.
Who's doing the reading this year?
We might have to call an advisory board member again.
Well, folks, it is a fantastic show, a Nutcracker like no other. And I really would encourage you, you want to start your Christmas off well, then you want to check it out, Audra McDonald Theater at Roosevelt High School, December 3rd. And the show times are
2 and 5:30.
2 and 5:30, and they go breakthebarriers.org to get tickets.
Yep.
So I would really encourage you. It seats what, 1,200?
No, about a little over 2,200.
2,200.
Yep.
Oh, wow, that balcony and everything.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Well, if you want to have a great kickoff to your family season for Christmas, this is a show you don't want to miss, and you will be absolutely enthused by what happens with it. It's absolutely phenomenal. So it's really good things. Well, you guys also do work not only with physically challenged folks, but with able-bodied people, and that match, that inclusion that you're talking about, Tyler, is absolutely phenomenal. And it's interesting, as I watch practices and I've seen performances and been involved on a lot of different levels, there's a thrill that takes place in a person's heart to see what takes place when nobody is excluded, but everybody is in on it, and they're an important and integral part of what takes place. And you guys have a performing group, the Barrier Breakers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was, just sharing a little bit about our family. I mean, we've always been a show me family, from we're third generation of performers. So my parents found out early on to try and explain the magic or talk it out of what's happening. It was a hard sell, and what better way than to visually see it, to see the potential, to see the ability in every child, and that's when my parents thought, let's put together a show team, and in 1984 we really started this concept of performing, and in 85 we became the Barrier Breakers, and from there we've performed, from our Capitol steps and our the White House to around the world.
Yeah, tell some of those places. I know you've been to Romania. You've been China.
Really. Alan Autry was here on this last segment. Him and his wife really helped us get to our nation's capital and to the White House, and that's when really the doors opened up for us. We were at that point named the National Role Model for Inclusion by the U.S. Department of Education.
Wow.
Special Education, they gave us a private tour of the White House, and that's really when, on a national level and international level, we were able to really educate individuals across our country, whether they're individuals or teachers or administrators, what true inclusion is all about. And from there, my wife and I, our passion was international missions. We had done many missions trips in Romania. So we thought, hey, let's travel. We have this talented team who are not just performers, but they're educators. Along with that, we brought in doctors. Yeah. Because, if anybody knows Romania and the fall of communism, third world country, huge, tremendous hearts, but a lack of education. So that was really our first trip. And from there, by year 3 in Romania, we were back with our U.S. Department of Education as well as our U.S. Embassy, and we helped Romania join the European Union. And after that, just the floodgates open. I mean, we've been to China and Africa a few times, and Dominican Republic and India and Australia and Peru and Guatemala and Philippines and Canada,
and
it goes on and
tell
on.
Who goes.
Yeah.
Who actually goes on that trip?
The best of our best. So we have the best of our performers in wheelchairs, the best of our performers who might have Down syndrome, the best of our performers who might be blind, and then we have our top-notch athletes, gymnasts, martial artists, dancers that get to go. Yeah,
this isn't an elite group in terms of they can do everything for themselves, and find their hotels, and you guys are moving around a whole lot of bodies to get them to the right place at the right time. And one of the unique things is a story out of China of people, they don't treat their disabled folks the same way. They basically, shutter them off into a room or a place away from everybody else, don't want them to be seen. And tell me a little bit of what happened with some of their ministries of education and things when they saw what your guys could do.
I think the first off, what we try and do is just, we share the gospel when we go places as well. And just trying to get people to view that, God doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that he's created everybody absolutely perfect for their purpose here on earth. The problem with the world is we don't allow people to explore what their gifts or even be able to find what their purpose is. So in these other countries, they don't even have a word for disability.
Yeah, interesting.
They're the cursed and the outcast. And so like even in China, they were under the one-child rule. And there's a huge epidemic in China with kids being born with missing limbs of some kind. So they hadn't already aborted their child. They would just drop it off on the government steps because they didn't want that to be their one child. So they would either end up in orphanages or in dying rooms where they were tied up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the cool thing in God's way of working is us connecting over there and just allowing individuals to see the potential of these kids.
Yes.
Some of our kids with Down syndrome, they graduated high school, they graduated college, they have a job. And so the potential's there. And so we visually show that. And usually we'll bring the government officials and educators back to Fresno and get them involved in our school districts and children's hospital and things like that and show them just the capability. And it's really a cultural mindset that we're trying to tweak. And once we're able to do that and they see the potential, you see the magic happen.
Well, all of us who have seen the Barrier Breakers perform, you can't help but be inspired. I mean, it's like, wow. And I'm a person that grew up with a disability, but mom and dad never told me I couldn't do something. Now I don't run the 100-yard dash, but I can drive it, so who cares?
We can brag about the wrestler you were.
Had the chance to wrestle. I've got a 5 handicap in golf. Very blessed. So I've always had an attitude from mom and dad. It's what you can do, not what you can't do. And I'll tell you, folks, we've got just great guests with us today, Jarod and Tyler Hergenrader from Break the Barriers. And you're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. Stay with us. We're going to be right back. For joining us, Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6, KXEX 1550 AM, where we talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, and healthy communities. We also have Good News with Larry Powell, nothing but good news stories, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. You can catch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We got it for you at your convenience so you can listen to us. What special guests we have with us today, Jarod and Tyler Hergenrader from Break the Barriers. And I'll tell you what, if you want to be inspired, we've got an opportunity for you to go to just an amazing program, Nutcracker like no other, Audra McDonald Theater at Roosevelt High School, December 3rd. There are going to be 2 performances. Go to breakthebarriers.org and you can get tickets for that. There's plenty of room. Make this a family deal, and it's a great way to support Break the Barriers as well. Well, you guys also work with veterans, and from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, probably the most effective veterans program west of the Mississippi, and you have been for years. It's not like this is just something you've picked up, but I know you've got an archery program, you've got other things, and you're taking veterans who have been through some really, really tough challenges, and they're starting to see their capabilities again and their worth and their value. So tell us a little bit of what's going on there.
Yeah, so we started the
Tyler.
program in 2012, and we at that time we were really focused on kids, and the majority of the time our international staff. And there was a grant that kept popping up in our emails of trying to service veterans on adaptive sports.
Yep.
And we kept deleting it. Not that we didn't care, we just didn't see a fit at that time. But right at that time, that 22 in a day suicide rate came out nationally, and then you could see probably politically they were trying to place the blame on everything else.
And
so,
that's 22 veterans a day were killing themselves.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's the statistic, and it's gone up and down throughout the years.
Right.
And that kind of blew our mind. And then some stuff came out about the VA system having some hardships nationally. So us as a community organization, partnered with a lot of other nonprofits. We kind of looked into what our community was doing, and not to say there wasn't anything. We just could not find anything that our community was doing to give back to the vets at that time. So you said, look, we'll be the front runners to be able to start. We have an amazing, gifted facility that we've been blessed with. Let's see what we could do. Hung out at the VA quite a bit, and just saw that there was a lot of pressure on our VA to do everything for the vets.
Right.
And in my opinion, they just couldn't handle everything. And so we were just thinking, man, here we are, we're benefiting from our freedoms, right?
And the sacrifices they've made.
Yeah, but the community doesn't even know about the sacrifices that were made. We didn't even know at the time about some of the hardships and stuff that were going on. But as hanging out with these vets, it's like, man, the community needs to give back. And so we stepped up, tried to get involved in the VA at the beginning, and it wasn't really happening. And so we kind of just connected ourselves with some bigwigs in town that had some foot in the door with the veterans population, and they helped us get up and started. And our program kind of just blew up. We've been able to connect the right dots, and now we are the largest recreation program free to veterans in the nation. Just last year, which we consider still a COVID year, we provided over 10,000 services for these vets.
Wow.
And so we have 17 free programs. It's all free that they could participate in. I mean, there's people donating for registration fees, top of the line equipment for these individuals to shoot with. So we go all the way from recovery to recreation, and then we could take them to elite level training so they could compete.
Yeah, and that brings us to that program that you talked about, the grant. You had gotten it for a number of years in a row, and it was continuing to come. And then this year, why in the world they dropped it, I don't have any clue. But tell us a little bit where you're at now as a result of that.
Yeah, we were very unfortunate. We thought for sure we were a shoo-in, given that we're the largest program. They count our heads to lobby for more funds. We've had a good relationship with them. We truly believe that a new staff rolled in and they didn't know who we were, and that's what happened. But this is a good chunk of our program. If we're at full speed, our program costs just a little under $400,000, and this was about $240,000 that we were hoping for and relying on. And that's, like Tyler said, that's anywhere from our training that we offer throughout the day, or PTSD classes, or mobility classes. We even have Bible studies for vets who want to come in and have Bible study weekly, where we feed them and have a Bible study. So there's a lot that we offer to these vets every day of the week, all year round.
And our program's unique. This grant, it's a government grant, and they mainly fund clinics. And so other programs will do maybe 4 clinics quarterly throughout the year. We're one of the few year-round programs, so they kind of have to tweak the program to fit what we're doing. So they list each of our classes as clinics. And we haven't, in the last 8 years, we haven't got the grant twice. And both times we view, because they won't tell us, we'll just get an email saying we didn't get it. But both times that's happened, new administration has come in, and that's what's happened this time. So we're kind of assuming that might be what happened, but now we're here.
Yep. So is that grant dead for this year? For sure?
For sure it's dead.
Yeah. Who are some of the folks who tried to help you get that restored?
Yeah.
Who did you go to?
Well, we went to a lot of public figures and names. Jim Patterson has been a big help to us. Of course, Gary Bredefield. We had Mayor Dyer come by and is trying to help us out.
Steve.
We had, Steve Brandow has been a huge help.
Right.
So many big names in the community are trying to step up and raising awareness. And of course, other radio stations. We've been on the Chris Gabriel show and the Ray Appleton show and the Broski and Musan show. And of course, we're here with you, Larry.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to get the word out, and just to live by faith. We're taking one day at a time,
Yeah.
but we know that God has given us now this huge ministry. And we're responsible for many active duty and veterans that call Break the Barriers their home.
Yep. In fact, they finally have a place to go during the day, and be welcomed, an official part of what's going on. And I've seen them. That is home for a lot of them. They don't have a great living circumstance in many cases. And you've got some great individual stories of folks who have really got their lives turned around as a result and came in with just this sense of, I'm not worth anything. Do you have any stories you could share? I know, Tyler, you're intimately involved with every one of them.
There's so many stories and so much help going on with the community. And share one that is always in my heart. We take our vets to Las Vegas, which is the largest indoor international shoot in the world, every February.
And that's for archery.
Archery shoot,
archery,
yep.
yeah. And so archery is probably one of the biggest programs because it's a shooting sport. The air rifle, we live in California. There's still some political stuff going on there.
Yeah.
But there's about 20,000 people that go, about 5,000 shooters. The pros and Olympians are there, and they honor our vets in front of everybody. Inside that, with our partnership with the NFA, who runs the tournament, we do a pro-am where the pros actually team up with our veterans. They, one pro, one vet. They go head-to-head at the tournament. It's streamlined internationally. It's in international magazines. It's such a great experience and a life-changing, I'd say, tournament for a lot of our vets. But we had one vet who was homeless, and some great help from the peer support at the VA would bring him in, and we knew that this tournament would be life-changing for him, and he didn't want to go, and we provide food vouchers for them as well when we go. So we were talking to him about how great the buffet is there. So he actually went for the food.
Okay.
And come to find out when we got back from that tournament that he's had family in Las Vegas that he hasn't seen in 30 years.
Wow.
So he actually, because of that tournament, flew back to Las Vegas and hung out with his daughter and his family that he hasn't seen. And then his life just succeeded from there. So we've seen Break the Barriers be a stepping stone to getting these individuals back in the community, finding purpose again, getting healthier physically and mentally, and that's just been one of many stories. Like you're saying, some of our vets have no family. We are their family.
Yep.
They're at our facility 4 to 6 hours a day. So it's really a second home or a home for these individuals.
So what's happening now that you've lost that $240,000? So I know you're interested in anybody in the community who can step up and help.
Yeah.
So you need $240,000 to make up just for that, but that's not all. You've got more above and beyond that. Especially COVID was a tough time.
Yep. Yeah, well, Steve Brandow was a huge help. We did receive the county ARPA grant. So we have not received the funds yet, and until we receive them, we're losing roughly $10,000 to $20,000 a month. Right now, we're just running at bare minimum as far as the program goes, just to keep our doors open with our vets. But we have a campaign going. We have a video that's out. You can go, view it on YouTube under Break the Barriers, our veterans program, where we really highlight all that we do. You can sponsor a vet for $600 a year. So that's a great way to give back. If you want to give on our website, of course, breakthebarriers.org, just make sure that just in the memo line you say it's for the veterans, and that will be restricted just for them. And then we're just, like talking to you, we're on every platform we can as far as news and radio, and just to get the word out, and again, to live by faith, and hopefully that funding comes in.
And it's such a great ministry. It's almost in a way like feel it's owed back to these veterans
Sure.
to be able to do this for them.
Yeah. Well, think about that. It's $50 a month, folks, to support a veteran. $600 a year is not that big an ask. In fact, if you break it down, it's probably one less latte a week, and you can step up and really help someone realize their worth as an individual and get their lives back after sacrificing for us. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. KXEX 1550 AM. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're so glad that you're with us. We're concluding. We got one segment left with Tyler and Jarod Hergenrader from Break the Barriers, one of the premier nonprofits in all of California, from my opinion. The amazing work they've done with physically challenged, able-bodied kids, veterans, absolutely amazing. They've got a unique show coming up on December the 3rd at the Audra McDonald Theater at Roosevelt High School. It's a nut breaker like no other, and we want you to make sure you get a ticket. That's breakthebarriers.org. Please go there. Take your family, take your friends in the neighborhood, make it a special Christmas, and support them. And you'll just be absolutely amazed at what you see and who performs. And it's a great way to kick off Christmas for everybody in December. So back a little more to the veterans. You guys, you live by grants in a lot of ways and donations, and because you're not charging our veterans for anything that they get there. That's a remarkable thing, because a lot of people will take some grant money, but they also have a fee for somebody to participate, and you don't do that. You say, you're welcome, come on board, and we want you to be here. What are some of the other activities that they have available to them? I know archery is one of the big ones, and you've done very well in competition with that, and it's amazing when you see some of them perform with a missing limb or other things, and they're still quite the shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've figured out a way for some to shoot. We have blind veterans shooting. We developed devices for vision impaired to shoot. We've made shoulder harnesses with a foot pedal release for some that could only use one arm. We've helped a prosthetic company build a arm to hold a bow correctly in order to shoot, and now our vet Addison that uses that is pounding the middle. It's crazy to watch that, but yeah, there's always a way. So it's anything on a recreation to a recovery level, and then we deal with some mental health stuff as well, and then the Bible study as well, which is important. Sure. That's the foundation, right? Yeah. But yeah, we have personal training for the vets. We have a weight room that they could come use whenever our weight room's open. We have Taekwondo. We have a HOPE program, which is an amazing program, specializes in spinal cord recovery or damage or any neurological symptoms. Archery is the big one. We have air rifle. We have exercise fitness class called Show Up Fitness. Swimming, track and field, table tennis. So I mean, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Boy, I'm sure you guys would be interested in a legacy donation of some kind. So, folks, if you're out there and you've got some dollars, you've been blessed. I'll tell you right now, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 in a legacy donation would go a long ways toward changing the lives and continuing to help our veterans as well as our physically challenged kids who are just getting the best of the best in terms of training and encouragement, and it's absolutely amazing. Jarod, tell me a little more about some of the things that you're hoping to have happen. I know you're facing any business that loses $240,000, that's a tough thing. So how do you keep people going when there's no pay for them? Because that's kind of what you're facing right now. Yeah. And what do you need a month right now in order to keep folks on board?
Yeah, just to skate by, we need about $10,000 to $12,000 a month.
Okay.
And that's just for us to offer our classes in-house.
Gotcha.
For us to be able to take these vets to competitions and travel fees, and
so that's above and beyond.
That's above and beyond, and as well as new equipment for them. That's where we get into our overall budget, if we're running at full speed, is close to 400,000, each year.
Yeah.
So that's what we need, and we're hoping that the community, like you said, can step up. Even then, Break the Bears has 28 programs, and we're not just writing for vets funds, we're writing for literacy funds. We have a free reading program, and we have a free school program, and
Yep.
and many other free programs. So our grant writing team it's not seasonal at Break the Bears. It's around the clock.
Year round.
Year round.
Yeah.
So we're every foundation, grant, business in town, we're trying to reach out to constantly, as well as individuals, and we know where we sit on that totem pole of nonprofits. We know we're behind the universities and the schools and the hospitals and the churches, but we believe God's bigger than all
Absolutely.
that, and we're gonna press on. I of course, as a CEO, I have to be somewhat reserved and just have some mindful words of wisdom that I might reach out to advisor or some elders to
Sure.
help me through this all. But we truly believe that this year is going to be more successful than other. Despite our setback, we're for the first time hosting a national archery championship here in Fresno. So pros from around the world will
Wow.
fly into Fresno on April 15th and 16th. It's on 300 acres on the Madera side of Millerton Lake. So that's something that we are planning on doing despite the setback. So given that we have other programs and that can support our vets to get through this, we believe God's gonna carry us through. But yeah, at the same time, definitely have to be reserved and definitely
Sure.
have to look at the P&L and the finances every month.
Yeah.
And we have faith in our community.
Yep.
As you know, Fresno County is a gold mine of great nonprofits, but also a gold mine of just great individuals that love to impact the community. So that's where our faith is in, just because of just being in the past and just relying on the hearts of people to do some magics.
Absolutely. I know Rotaries have stepped up, and
Oh, yeah.
a variety of service clubs.
Rotary stepped up in a big way. I mean, we've already been blessed since October from, I'll just name them, North Fresno Rotary and Fresno Rotary and Fig Garden Rotary. So Rotary, Kiwanis, you name
Yeah.
it, Knights of Columbus, even Larks, even though they've kind of dismantled, has
Yeah.
still blessed us this year.
Is that right?
So yeah, we have so many friends and that love blessing Break the Barriers for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I know that the challenges are real, but God is bigger, and He's going to make a difference. And I love it when things don't go right, because it usually means something really good is right around the corner.
Amen.
And
Amen.
tell us a little more about the swimming pool, because my wife loves that swimming pool, by the way.
She does.
You
She's
know.
the first one every morning. She's the first one there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Water aerobics, folks.
We started this pool campaign, about 6 years ago, I would say, and it started out with Al Perry, who sat on our board, past CEO of the VA, and my parents and the board, and we knew that opening up our pool seasonally was not enough, not just for our vets training, but for many of our little ones that are turned away from any other pool
Yep.
in town, whether they have autism and they're on the spectrum or whatever it might be, and we knew that length of time to learn how to swim was not long enough.
Right.
For many of our friends on the spectrum, they love going under the water and they love that muffled sound, but they forget to come back up sometimes. Yeah. So, our board and team put together a campaign. We thought we were done. We raised $1.1 million, and our community did, and we thought we were done. But then with inflation and material costs, we found out that we owe another $600,000.
Is that right?
So,
Man.
but we, despite COVID, we were able to pay off the building 3 years ago, and we
Wow.
have some amazing equity in our building, and we were able to pull out a loan with Fresno First Bank, who's awesome.
They've been
If you
great.
if you bank with Fresno First Bank, they really saved us during COVID.
Wow.
There's other banks that just I mean, we were falling off the deep end, and
I remember the phone call.
yeah, yeah, and they're the bank that stepped up to give us a loan, and so they've been a blessing to us, but yeah, it's going up fast. We hope to be done by March because we have a contract with Fresno Unified in April.
Okay.
We're providing water safety for all the Fresno Unified students. So
you've got let's see, December, January, February, March, 4 months divided into, you got $150,000 you got to raise a month to get to that 600.
Yep.
Well, that's not unmanageable, and folks, let me tell you what, Break the Barriers is one of those unique organizations that you can trust that the money that goes to them goes for the purposes that it is intended and is never, ever sent in a different direction. It goes for services for our able-bodied, disabled, it goes for our physically challenged, it goes for our veterans. You can be assured that whatever money is donated goes to the purpose it was intended. And you have a strong history of that and a legacy of your own with that. So folks, if you've got a few extra dollars, do you have a lot of folks that give you on a monthly basis that, are not rich, but they donate $100 a month or, that kind of thing?
Yeah. We believe every penny's God's. So yeah,
Yep.
we have $10 givers a month to 20 to 100 to 200, you name it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if they go to the website, breakthebarriers.org, there's a place they can get on a monthly ongoing donation.
Yeah, or just come in and our staff can just set it
Sign
up.
you up.
Sign you up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love for people to see what's going on. So even for our donors throughout the year, hey, come see what your funding's doing, and
Yeah.
you'll realize where that money's going. And like even with our vets are getting travel funds paid for. They're getting equipment. They're getting food vouchers.
Wow.
I mean, it's a tournament after tournament after tournament. And so that money is you're seeing it's blessing people right then and there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what hours could people come by for a visit?
Yep, Monday through Friday we're open pretty much 8:30 till 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then Saturdays from 9 to 1.
Yeah, and if you want to be enthused, come and join us. But don't forget that performance at Audra McDonald Theater, December 3rd. Go to breakthebarriers.org to get tickets for just an amazing show. You want to be there. And folks, let me tell you, if you've got a few extra dollars, and even if you need to sacrifice a little bit, wouldn't it be nice if you sacrificed during Christmas and also during Thanksgiving to say, hey, what a great organization right here in Fresno, California. Break the Barriers, a unique place to be. Thank you so much, Jarod and Tyler, for being here.
Thanks, Larry.
And we're going to look forward to our community stepping up to help you. You've been listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're so glad you joined us today. We'll see you next week.